This was one of the most important and emotionally impactful moments and fights in One Piece so far for me. For context, in the Water 7 arc, the Straw Hats are told that the Going Merry is far too damaged and it is beyond repair, and they're going to have to leave the ship where it is. They're not going to be able to take it any further, because if they try to travel to the next island, it's going to sink. Now, thinking about it, the people that told the Straw Hats that are actually not very trustworthy, where I am at the story right now. But regardless, at this point in time, it seemed like there was no hope for the Going Merry at all. The whole reason they came to Water 7 in the first place was to find a shipwright in order to fix the Going Merry so they could continue their adventure. And when the Straw Hat Pirates were told this, they were broken a little bit. The Going Merry is just as big a part of the Straw Hat Pirates as Luffy or Zoro or Sanji is. It's another crew member. I mean, to them, it's another family member, it's another friend. The Going Merry is really, really important, and they can't just abandon it for no reason. So Luffy was forced to make the very, very difficult decision that they were going to leave the Going Merry behind. They were going to have to get a new ship and continue traveling, because it wasn't fair on the Going Merry to continue pushing it as far as they did. Now, on the flip side of that, at this point in the story, Usopp is feeling very weak and vulnerable and useless after he just lost all the money that they gained in Skypiea to the Frankie family. And you can tell he's absolutely distraught by this. There's a heartbreaking scene with Nami where he breaks down in tears and he's talking about how useless he is, and he can't face the crew like this because he's lost the money and he's so ashamed by it, even to the point where he rematches the Frankie family being completely outnumbered and outgunned, just because he feels so upset by the entire situation. And it really is a really important scene for Usopp, one of the most important scenes in the series so far for me. And of course, Usopp's relationship to the Going Merry is perhaps the most distinct out of all of the Straw Hats when it comes to the Going Merry. The Going Merry represents Usopp's home. It's where he came from. He got that ship from a family who he learned to care for, from the butler, Kaya's butler, this girl that he loves, and it represents to him his home, and it means a lot to him. It means more to him than perhaps any other Straw Hat, the Going Merry. Obviously, they all cherish it and they all love it and they all see it as part of the Straw Hat family, but there's just something a bit more special between Usopp and the Going Merry. And all of this culminates in a massive argument between Luffy and Usopp, as Luffy makes the really difficult decision to leave the Going Merry behind because it can't be repaired, it can't be saved, and in Usopp's emotional state and his relationship with the Going Merry, he cannot accept this. To him, that's like leaving a family member behind or leaving a friend behind to die. That's the exact same thing that he believes Luffy is doing right now. He feels like Luffy isn't even trying. Of course, we know this is a really hard decision for Luffy to make, and he's not making it for any sort of reason. He's not making it because he doesn't care. It's because he feels he has to as the captain, and the Straw Hat, like he's been told, is beyond saving, and Usopp cannot accept this fact. And this leads to Usopp leaving the Straw Hat Pirates, and not only that, he challenges Luffy to a fight, and the winner gets to decide the fate of the Going Merry. And this was one of the hardest fights I've ever had to watch in any anime. It was beautifully animated and it was incredibly well done. The choreography and the actual contents of the fight were extremely engaging and exciting to watch, but what it was actually about and what it meant for the Straw Hats and these characters was devastating. It was a fight that slowly chipped away at me emotionally. It had Usopp using all of his tricks like he does in every single fight, and Luffy was clearly holding back because he didn't really want to do this fight. I'm sure Usopp didn't really either, but they had to. They both had to do this fight. Usopp had to, as his pride as a pirate and as somebody that wanted to save the Going Merry, that felt like he had to. He had an absolute duty to save the Going Merry, and Luffy had to fight to not only honor his title as captain, but to honor Usopp's pride as well. But eventually Luffy decides enough is enough, and he defeats Usopp, and you can tell the toll emotionally that this takes on not just Luffy or Usopp, but the entire Straw Hat crew. Everyone breaks down in tears, and for Luffy, you can tell this is one of the hardest things he's ever had to do. He loves his crewmates, he loves his friends, and him having to do this, even though it had to be done, broke him. And it was the same with Usopp. He was in tears. He probably felt just as useless as he did beforehand, which is heartbreaking because he is not useless at all. He's actually a very important character, a very important piece of the puzzle of the Straw Hats. But you can tell this emotional weight and this burden that he feels like he puts on the Straw Hats, that he puts on himself, really he does struggle with it, and this was the grand culmination of that. And Luffy having to be the one to almost put him down again, I think made the situation even worse for Luffy and everybody else involved. And me as a viewer, this fight absolutely broke me. It had me in bits by the end of it, I'm not gonna lie. And if anything, this fight really showed me how much I care about these characters and how well written this story was, because I was heartbroken watching these two fight. It felt like a family getting torn apart over a circumstance that neither one of them could control. This is a fight that should have never happened, but was absolutely necessary, and I think is going to be a really important moment for both of these characters. And the most important themes of these fight being the burden of leadership sometimes, the feeling of weakness and what it can do to a person and how it can make them feel, and the realism that sometimes situations are so impossible that you have to do things you don't want to do, and you have to be in these uncomfortable situations, and sometimes you will end up fighting with the people you love, and it can end in heartbreak, and it can end in these horrible situations that nobody wants to be a part of, but they are absolutely necessary. But as uncomfortable and genuinely upsetting as this fight was to watch for me, it was one of the most impactful moments in the series so far. As somebody that's about 245 episodes into the series, into this story, this was a moment that will 100% stand out to me for a long time. I'm not going to forget this fight, and I'm very intrigued to see what happens with the future of Usopp and the Straw Hat Pirates, to say the least. But let me know your thoughts on this moment, on this fight, in the comment section below. I think it's a very interesting topic for discussion. I want to know if you think I've missed any sort of themes or anything else. Let me know the impact that this fight had on you, because it really did have an effect on me. But yeah, what an incredible moment, and very poignant, I think, and very important in the story of One Piece and the Straw Hats specifically. But yeah, thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll speak to you all in a bit. Peace.